Welcome back to We Care a Lot. I'm half the podcast, Sam.
I'm the other half, Mel.
Hey guys, today we're bringing you an episode in honor of, I guess, Mother's Day, which is kind of like the actual topic isn't very cheery and like, oh my god, Mother's Day.
There's going to be a lot of gratitude in there, but
yes, we'll be throwing in snippets of good things.
Yeah. This episode actually is going to come out on Mexican Mother's Day.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
May 10th.
Wednesday this year. Wow.
So
hello, everyone. Happy
you're
Mexican Mother's Day.
if you're Mexican, happy Mother's Day. So we have like a lot to talk about. Technically, I mean, this might be like more of a ramble because I feel like we had an idea of like what things we wanted to talk about, but under the current mood that we're in, we'll see what this turns into.
And what she means by current mood is just like, you'll see in Glowing Hour, because we're going to talk about it in Glowing Hour more specifically, but just like, it's one of those months, weeks. I mean, so far it's only been like a week, but you know, Mercury in retrograde is really hitting this time. I don't know what to say, but we'll get into that later. For now, we're talking about mothers, our mothers in specific, because that's really our reference point. So, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. I don't think my mom listens. Thank God.
Pretty sure my mom does.
She actually just like, she's like, why do you post those videos of you and like Samantha talking? And I'm like,
Samantha, I love it.
I literally am like, I tell you all the time, like what a podcast is, but okay.
You
like,
said, but
fine.
love you.
I'm going to try to look for like podcasts in Spanish and like send her some so she understands the concept because it's kind of hard.
I may be coming up with another gap in the market. What if, or I don't know if this exists, but like an app that translates a podcast to another language. Our podcast completely translated to Spanish would be crazy.
Dude. Well, I think like on YouTube, if you put like...
You could do subtitles probably.
I think this, way weird.
You said, Mom, why aren't you supporting me? Just kidding. Yeah, anyways. So to start things off, mothers is just a very interesting topic because... I don't know, I guess when you're a daughter, it's like you can relate to your mom in the feminine way. Mm-hmm. And then like your dad's just like your dad. Like he's just a guy.
He's just a guy.
But then your mom, like you learn so much from her and it's not intentional.
No, not at all. There's a lot of like
it's nuance
stuff that came like subconsciously that you just like learn from just being around them.
Also not just moms, I guess, but like any maternal figure, like Nina's, aunts,
I
sisters.
really even say like teachers. Anyone who is like has an important teaching type job.
Influence on
you. So I think we just carry all of that shit and then you start realizing and you like gotta unlearn stuff and it's hard.
And it's also like, it's no one's fault. Start there. We're not blaming moms or people influencing us for anything, because I think about myself and then my niece and I'm like, what am I teaching this girl? What am I teaching her?
That's scary,
you know. It's terrifying, and you're never going to be perfect and there's always going to be unlearning to do for each generation. But let's just start with body image and all the things that came from those above us.
yeah I think the way that I would want to start this is like my mom's not listening, but like
but I love you, Mom.
Even to Susanna, like we're saying this like with, I feel like when I talk, I feel like I've had conversations with my mom about like certain trauma that I was given, but at the same time I'm like, you did your fucking best and
there's no hate.
There's no like animosity. I don't like what I'm saying is I take full responsibility for how I now take those situations and those learnings, lessons and whatever. Like I'm the one who has to deal with it, and so it's like it has nothing to do with you, kind of a thing.
No blame,
but
this is not a blame game. Life is not about blaming other people for your problems.
But I do think that I think we've talked about this before, where we have like similar experiences where our mothers and their sisters or like other family members who are also women or feminine, they talk about their bodies in a very like negative way with each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really taught me to honestly hate my body. And that's not like something that they did on purpose, but I think
it's something they also learned.
Yeah.
They didn't just make it up.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thing that consistently is like being passed on just by like, because you're obviously like, I feel like for me, for example, my mom made me feel like adored and like always like wanted me to know that I was like pretty or beautiful, and she said those things to me. But I think like hearing herself talk about her own body made me also I think like subconsciously as a kid I was probably like, but I look, and then people would tell me I look like her. So it's like, you're telling me that I look like my mom, but she hates how she looks.
Not that part.
So it's like,
oh my God.
You know what I mean?
You're like,
I think my brain just was like,
you said, how do you hate you but love me, but like we look the same?
Like, what do you mean, girl? So I think that was really like
confusing
for sure.
Yeah, I think there was just a lot of negative talk about their bodies, and they didn't mean it. Like my Nina and mom, love them. They would just like, they would use it as a joke, kind of like, oh, jokes about their own body and being like, oh, I can't eat that, or I can't wear that, or I don't want to look like that.
There's a lot of like limitation talk. Yeah.
And, you know, they'd laugh. So I was like, it's funny. But in
like,
reality
then comes the fucking self-deprecating jokes all the time.
And then it's just self-deprecation you think is like cool, which like I guess our generation is learning. Like, I mean, it's cool to be, it's not cool, but it's okay to be unhappy maybe with where you're at, but also like still having gratitude. But it's also like, in that situation, how was my mom gonna teach me I'm unhappy but I'm grateful for my body at the same time? Like, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, I also think like they're still learning to like love themselves.
They're learning with us,
literally.
So it's a team effort.
It's the conversation of like they're people too, and like it just, yeah. I was gonna say that I think like we like as like a in between, like as a millennial thing, is like we are learning to almost have like overtly positive feelings about our bodies, or like not even that, but just like if we feel anything negative, we try to combat it. You know,
it's not necessarily necessary.
Yeah, but I feel like also millennials, like I feel like in that era of, what were they called? What the fuck are they called? Like the e-girl, like the emo girl. What was it? Like scene, like the scene era. Like I feel like that's like, that was very millennial, and like in that era, people were hella self-deprecating, and it was like cool to fucking hate yourself.
It was really cool to hate yourself.
You know,
it was like, oh, you literally mutilate yourself. Cool. I wish I did that.
Or like,
so
I want to hate myself so much that like other people think I'm like weird and cool.
It.
Yeah. So it's just like, I think that's also like a, not necessarily a maternal figure, but I feel like my cousins or like older women I looked up to in that way, even just like fucking celebrities and stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, 17-year-olds, but like celebrities that were doing the same thing. You learn that stuff, and it's just fucked up. But anyway, back to moms. Yeah, I feel like they're still like learning themselves. And for me, it was always like my mom also like, well, it's not just my mom, but like my mom and her sisters are always commenting on each other's bodies. And I feel like that's something that is just so like not okay.
Like negatively?
Yeah. Oh, it's just like not okay for us. Like our generation, it's just like, don't even talk about my body in a positive or a negative way. Like, I don't need to hear it.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would talk negatively, but also like positively at the same time. So they'll be like, it's like, it was kind of like a backhanded.
Like, you used to be so this,
but now you're so skinny.
Yeah.
Like, you've lost so much. It's like, that's so backhanded. And it was always those types of comments, or like, I think you have a really great this, but you need more of like this, like I do. Like, it's like that kind of a stuff, like kind
dude,
of like
they
talk. They're savage, dude. Dang. And now like I hear them all talk about themselves, and I'm like, y'all never helped each other.
You
like,
say, y'all really were just
shooting the shit, like in a bad way. So
mental health.
Definitely, like, I don't know. That's like a huge unlearning, like just body talk.
I was going to say, going back to what you were saying about our generation, I saw a video on TikTok. This woman was talking about how she, I wouldn't say fell, but I guess fell so deep into body neutrality that it was actually like damaging in a way, because it was just like she felt so disconnected from herself, that because she was just like neutral, like she didn't love her body. She didn't hate her body. It was just there. So she felt so disconnected from knowing when she was like feeling anything inside of her body, whether it was like hunger or sadness or whatever. And she was like, it did help me overcome my eating disorder, but like I now need to go into body positivity because I have no idea who I am anymore. So I thought that was an interesting concept, that like she was like, I still am grateful for body neutrality because it did help me, but
I think it's a stepping stone.
Yeah, I need to like get back to positivity.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a stepping stone for when you're so deep into the other side of negativity that like positivity feels so far away, that neutrality is just like literally it's a middle ground for you to stay in for a little bit. But I definitely do think that when you have like body positivity, it uncovers, like, you're literally battling the negative thoughts, and so it's a lot of work.
It's a hard jump.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I think also when you're like young and then you turn into like a teenager, it's like everyone starts seeing you as like a woman now. So it's like, you're so beautiful. Oh my God, like this and that, which like at the end of the day, like it's not like we're like, oh my God, don't call your nieces and nephews handsome and beautiful and like whatever, because I don't think that's fair. But it's just part of how a person internalizes whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's not my Nina's fault that she called me beautiful all the time. Like, and now I have some weird thoughts about it. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
totally. Like, it's with good intentions, but
yeah. And I'm like, don't stop.
And don't stop telling me.
And don't.
No, definitely. I definitely can like relate to that. I feel like literally one of my nicknames as a child was chula, which means like, I don't even know what it means. I guess it's like beautiful or like cute, like you're cutie. I don't know. It just, I don't know how to translate it, but I think at a certain like middle school age, like I was just like, can you guys stop calling me that? Because it's like, it's damaging when I feel like I'm not these things. And also like it created, like I was always told as a little kid, like you should be like my aunt, one of my aunts, which like I love her and this was really sweet of her, but I feel like it also caused like some damage in my brain. But she would always tell me that I should go and be like, there's like, it's Miss Universo, which is like Miss Universe, but I guess it's the same thing, but like there's like a Latin like version of it, of like Miss America. And she was like, you need to do it, like when you turn 21 we're gonna take you and blah blah blah. And I was like,
oh my God.
And so like in my head I was like, I need to be perfect and like look this certain way like they do growing up. And so I think that it's kind of like similar.
It's like
body
she
types
was
to
trying
models.
to tell you already are
that.
perfect, but you took it as like, I need to do something to stay or achieve that.
But also like growing into my body, those thoughts still kind of like are subconsciously there of like, I need to be skinny and fit and like have perfect skin and perfect hair and like just be perfect. Like I need to be that.
That's like general fucking society
and
telling
so
us,
on top of that, and so just like it just creates like a fucking like
a story in your mind.
Yeah, like a record that won't start playing. And sometimes I heard this recently where somebody was talking about depression.
Why was there a long pause? Depression.
Because I was trying to think of like what the topic was. I think it was depression, but it was like a certain thought that they were having, and they said that they went on meds and like they felt like there was this strong noise, and that was the depression, and like meds made them feel like the noise had been silenced, but it was still playing in the background.
Ew.
And that's how I feel like a lot of these negative thoughts sit with me, is like I can silence them, but they're still like playing. You know, it's like you have the volume down.
I don't know what to do with that information.
I don't even know why I brought that up, but
I mean, yeah, that's.
I'm like, and with that, a good segue to generational trauma, bro. And trying to combat that.
Listen, do I actually know anything about generational trauma? Like,
yeah,
my family's generational trauma? Not really. Do I know about how to heal and stop the cycle?
Also
no. I don't. So if you feel like, girl, what are you talking about? Don't worry. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just kidding. No, but I feel like in general, I'm not like, there's not like secrets in my family or anything, but just like very disconnected from my mom's side of, you know, the generation, because my grandmother passed away when I was born. So I never had anyone to like ask those questions to. Obviously, I still have my mom and my Nina and all of her siblings, and, you know.
But it's different.
It is different. And maybe I'll make it more of a point to start asking more questions to like my aunts, like my great aunts and cousins and stuff, because they're like very much connected to that part of my family, because it's their family.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not connected to what it actually is, other than the stories my mom has told me, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, I mean, I think learning from your aunts is, I mean, I also think, like, how else are you supposed to learn? Like, yes, maybe asking, like, from the source, but then there's also, like, from the source, there's someone else, you know? So it's just, that's, like, the generational trauma of it all. But I think, like, learning from your mom, at least you see another perspective besides, like, your own, of, like, your own issues. Because I do feel like a lot of the problems that we face are shared experiences. I mean, obviously, like, we're all human, we'll kind of have like the same stuff, but
Yeah.
like, I feel like generational trauma, like the specific things that maybe you feel your friends don't feel, is definitely like a lineage of stuff that's happened, you know?
Yeah.
And like that maybe they haven't uncovered and like healed through
Yeah,
or
I feel like
tried to.
that's also a problem, is like the generations before us are a little more like, it happened, I'm moving on. It's not really something they share.
Yeah.
I mean, they have shared some things, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel like I know like surface level things about like the trauma that my parents didn't want to carry on from their parents and their parents' parents, but nothing like
Too specific.
that adds up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like on my end, I have a similar like background with like my mom. Like my grandma, she passed when I was like a few months old. Or actually, no, I was turning a year old, and my mom was waiting for me to be a year to take me to Mexico to meet her. And instead of me going to meet her, I went to her funeral. And I learned to walk at her funeral. Little side story.
You said thanks, Grandma.
But yeah, I definitely feel like I've learned the generational trauma from my mom, but also just like listening to things said about like my aunts, or how like they feel about my like grandma, and like just stuff like that. I feel like I've really learned like where it all stems from, and like where these feelings of like isolation, for me specifically, like isolation or feeling like neglected, come from. Because I don't feel like I was necessarily, well, I uncovered neglection in therapy, but like I feel like deeply rooted like neglection, like even as a child, like, but when it was happening, I already felt neglected, and like always felt like on the outside of things, if that makes sense. I feel like I realized that I uncovered that from like looking at how my grandma grew up, and like the expectations that were put on her, and then how those expectations were put onto my mom, and then how she put them on me. And also with my dad, like, but I think there's just so much, I don't know if you believe this, but there's like so much stronger of a generational trauma that's like literally passed from our moms, just because of people say, well, actually, what's true, that like when our grandmas had our moms, like in the womb, like our moms already had the eggs that were going to be us. And so whatever our grandmas were feeling at the time, our moms were also feeling, and then we were also feeling. Does that make sense? So it's like, it's a long lineage of trauma that is experienced in the moment, and it doesn't manifest until later. And so like it's like when you're pregnant, it's kind of like you need to really like cut the cord of like the trauma.
So why during the 9 months of pregnancy are we expected to do shit? Trying to stop generational trauma here.
Yeah, you gotta
make
do
a baby.
And that, yep. On here we have the topic of like womb healing, and I think that's just kind of like that specific topic. I feel like a lot of women who are like going into pregnancy in a way that's like very thought out, I guess, like they clear their wombs from generational trauma, and then also just like past relationships, past like experiences.
Don't get me on the
yoni healing. That's the same thing, like, you know, steaming your yoni with herbs. We need to
be doing the cleanse. I keep saying it, but I haven't done it.
Dude, for real, I still have your candles too to do the thing.
We gotta cut ties. We need to get out of here, baby.
We'll do that Friday. But yeah, just like clearing the womb, because like I said, like if you have like technically we already probably have trauma from when we were sitting in our mom's stomach, and our babies already have the trauma from our
Well,
moms.
you're saying we already
already
have absorbed our grandmothers.
Right. And our kids, if you have kids, already absorbed our mom's trauma. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know
so
what you
like
mean.
I think now it's like the job of us to not continue on their kids, if that makes sense.
I mean, like, I can only do so much.
I can only
do
only one generation.
Listen, I'm just gonna do what I can. There's something to be said about like when you get pregnant and all of the shit that probably goes into that, and if you are spiritual,
fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, and honestly,
Even
at this point, I think it's scientific. I'm almost done reading the book The Body Keeps Score.
Mm-hmm.
I've been holding off, but it's like getting really good. And it's just crazy how much science for the past, I don't know, 40 years that has backed up
Like
how
spirituality.
strong that, but like how strong your brain is. Like like
Yeah.
spirituality aside, like he doesn't talk about, the author of the book doesn't talk about necessarily like the universe or anything, but he talks heavily on how powerful your mind is, and like, which I think goes hand in hand with spirituality, because that is what is like preached so much. Like, you are in control, and your brain literally controls how your body responds to things.
Yeah.
And your subconscious is way stronger than you know. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but like the idea of womb healing, I feel like when you get pregnant, obviously concepts, you can't like focus on just one concept. Like your entire pregnancy, you're like, womb healing, I'm safe, I'm clean, I'm healthy, I'm like, you know, but it's more just like, I guess, a practice of like,
But yeah, that's
in
like,
general, doing the best you can, because that's
Totally.
all we fucking can do. And yeah, I feel like our generation might be the first
yeah.
to be doing that.
Yeah, definitely. There's like, I think consciousness is obviously like the ultimate power, but I feel like spirituality is the practice to help you stay in line with your consciousness. And like that's where like the whole healing aspect of like knowing your mind can literally heal the rest of you. And yeah, I think like the concept of womb healing, yeah, it's not like necessarily that. It's just, I think like,
It's like a general term of like, you gotta not be passing that on through your womb.
well, yeah, but I also feel like if you think about it in a spiritual sense and like use consciousness in that way of like, a womb is a home for something to like literally be growing. And so like, just like you are in your house, like you don't want it to be like dirty, like feeling negatively. You want to clean it up and like make it new, not new again, but like feel like positivity is like growing there and like
The
allowing
energy.
the energy to flow better. Which another thing is like energy is now like a scientific term now, instead of it just being like this woo woo shit, which like that's a whole other thing. But yeah, I think womb healing is, I guess like I get what you say by concepts, but I just feel like they're a lot like more, it's not like so like up in the air. I think it's more of like literally making it a practical sense of like I said, like it's a home for something to grow. And so like making space in a good positive way,
Yeah.
that you don't want to continue to like carry that on into the next person, because this person like
Yeah.
yes is your child, but it's gonna be another human out in the world, which is fucking weird. And that grosses me out.
Did you say it grosses you
I'm
out or
like, don't
stresses?
no, both. Stresses and grosses me out. It's fucking weird. I think like also growing as an adult and into like my adulthood into my womanhood, gross.
Not gross.
I feel like I've also have seen the shift that I want with my mom, where like I no longer see myself as a child necessarily, and I don't know if she does. I don't think she. I mean, there's probably moments, right?
She's like, you're being stupid
You're being
right now.
a small child.
But we also think that about our parents.
Yeah,
at
like
some
you
point in
literally
life.
you're being a baby.
Yeah, you're being a child. What's up?
So I don't know. I feel like it's just like a new relationship of two adults meeting versus just like having this like parental relationship where it's like do as I tell you, or like learn from me. And now it's like I've learned from the world and I'm my own person. And I want to share my life with you and like my life experiences, what my consciousness is like. Like
Nuts.
before, I feel like you're just like a
Let me
another
tell
like
you what
sector.
to do. You're like a little duck.
Yeah, you're like a little sector of your parent, but like now you're just like a whole ass person regardless of this. And so like,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
dynamics, right?
they're all different.
Yeah, everyone, yeah. But to your point, yeah, everyone's like grown up now, and you're like doing your own thing, and you have your own thoughts and beliefs, and a lot of the times they're different from your parents because they grew up in completely different generations. But I think just like practicing gratitude when you think of, I guess, your parents in general, but specifically mothers or maternal figures, because they honestly, like, they did that shit. Like, they raised you.
No, for real.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Huh?
Couldn't be me.
Just kidding. But it's honestly like, wow, you really did, hopefully, in my case, protect me, encourage me, and, you know,
Yeah.
we did the damn thing.
Is your mom ever like hard on herself for the way that she raised you guys? Or is she like, I fucking did that?
I'm sure she does. I'm sure she is. She's never really expressed it to me. I think my dad more so has expressed like, but his love language is words of affirmation. So he's always like, were we good parents? We were good parents, right? And I'm like, yes, you guys are good parents. I'm trying to think if my mom has ever been like, I'm sure she's asked also similar like
what's her
veins
sign
of
again?
that. She's
Gemini,
Gemini.
right?
Yeah.
Do you know her other signs?
No, I don't.
She gives like some type of like Scorpio or like earth energy or like Capricorn energy where like she doesn't say much.
She doesn't say much.
Like she
is
keeps
kind
it
of
in.
Yeah, she kind of does. Just keep that shit inside.
And I'm like, that's not very Gemini like.
Now they
you
let
know.
that. Well, she got the Gemini comes out sometimes.
No, for sure. But I'm talking about like the emotional side of like, she keeps it in sometimes.
I think she does.
At least from what I can see, she's not about to fucking tell me her secrets.
Yeah, I mean, from what you know from what I say,
Yeah.
not necessarily from what you know about her yourself.
Well, it's because I was gonna say like I feel like from my mom, I feel like she expresses a lot of like guilt for like certain things, and I think it's just because all of my fucking siblings and me have mental health problems. Which also
is
like
so
I think,
normal also.
Right, but I feel like we're all like clinically like depressed. And like I don't know, probably have like I'm not gonna say
Let's not diagnose anybody now.
but maybe some of us have personality disorders.
Oh my.
And I just feel like she really like takes on like, or even anxiety. Let's just say anxiety. Like I feel like I'm a really anxious person. I feel like she really takes that on as like something she did.
Wrong.
And I'm like, not necessarily. Like maybe it's just genetic, but also like, yeah, you were also expressing anxiety a lot of my life. And like now I could see it as like, you're just a human trying to fucking figure your shit out as much as I am. And like that in itself is the reason why I don't blame you. Or like, I don't think that you did anything wrong. I think you did your very best. But she takes that on and she's like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
You know?
I wish instead of her feeling guilt, she was like, maybe like light bulb moment of like, oh my God, like this is what I've given my daughter, and like I'm gonna be a better version of myself now.
Totally.
And like because she's still an example for you,
no,
regardless. Totally. But also I totally understand her feeling guilty because like I can't, anything my kids go through is my fault.
It's my fault.
It's my fault. Everything is my fault.
And I could totally like reason with her in feeling that way. I think I just then feel like not responsible, but I just feel like then you're fuck, like I don't want you to feel that way. Like I really don't. Like I'm my own person now, and like I don't think back like my mom fucked me up. It's just more of like I went through some things, and like now as an adult I can see it, and I need to like figure out how to move through it. Like it's no one's fault.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I feel like I feel like lately she's been a lot more open to herself and like her healing. I had like this specific conversation. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast. I feel like I might have like quickly, but like I had this recent conversation with her where, or maybe I was just thinking of therapy.
Girl. Podcast therapy,
same diff. Yeah, no, we had this like conversation recently, and it was like a very pivotal moment for me where like, I understand that she's actually like trying to work on herself and her mental health. But also, like, it was a very like adult like conversation. Even it was still like parental, like where, you know, we were talking about mother-daughter like relationship and like what I like learned from my parents, but it was like very adult and like, this is how I feel, this is like what I've gotten from this, and like she was
mature.
the same thing. Yeah, it was very mature conversation. And it felt like two friends talking, which like I've always wanted that from my mom. I feel like my mom was always my best friend growing up, but it was like different because she was my mom versus like a person. You know,
that's a good thing though.
Totally,
your mom did it right. Because if she felt like your best friend, actually your best friend, it's like take a step back.
So like I don't know. There's just like that conversation was just like so eye opening, and I feel like. And I really saw growth in myself that day, because I feel like when I started therapy, not that I blamed my mom for a lot of my problems, but I did like see her as like a very intense part of like, I don't want to say like my trauma, but like kind of. And like that day when she was speaking, I was like, holy fuck, like you're a person and you like, you fucking dealt with all that shit, like why? Like I don't know why you did that, but like I'm also like, and you're still here, that's fucking nuts. It just made me understand her and like literally humanize her, versus like I feel like parents are very easy to, this sounds fucked up, but dehumanize, because they're just like a person, they're just like an objectified person, like thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like they're just a concept versus like a person.
Yeah, the concept of a parent.
And like that day she was very human to me, and it was like weird.
It's so weird when your parents like are suddenly people in front of you. You're like, oh my god.
No, I've definitely had like moments where I'm like, you're just a guy, you know, type of vibe. But that day it was like, oh my god, you're like a human. Like you're a human that I like know.
You were a baby who grew up.
Yeah, literally. Like I could see the child in you, and I could see the grown parts that like had to like struggle to get there. Like it was really intense, and I don't know, it's just so weird.
I also feel like mothers always get like the brunt of parenting in general.
That was part of the conversation.
Oh yeah? Yeah, I feel like my mom, and like I hope, see, we're giving our parents trauma too, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely.
Like it's all over the place. There's lots of trauma being handed back and forth.
The human experience is traumatizing, let's just fucking call it that.
But you know, we joke, well, maybe a little too much. Like when me and all my siblings are together, all two of them, when we're
all two of them, me too.
When we're all together, I feel like it's probably so overwhelming if we're like talking about our childhood. Like our parents are probably like, don't bring it up, bring it up or something, you know. And we'll be like, well, because mom. And it's like, well, why is it always mom? Like she always says that, like, why is it always your mom? Like, why is it my fault? And like,
yet Steve's over here like, are we good parents?
Yeah, literally, huh? But it was like stupid shit. It's like my mom didn't teach us Spanish,
right?
Obviously that's her fault. What do you mean? Steve didn't know Spanish.
Pulling a book out? Duolingo?
I mean, he could have. He could have. But, like, she knew Spanish.
Yeah.
So, Mom, yes, I do blame you for that, but it's fine.
It's happened.
It's already my existence. It's my reality. But, yeah, we'll make jokes like that, and it's always mom. Always mom.
So
sorry,
funny.
Mom.
Like, my bad.
But literally, they always get, like, if your laundry wasn't ready, if you're late to school all the time, it's like, well, because mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's gotta be exhausting.
Yeah.
That's why I get it when my mom snaps. Like, if me and my sister are joking too much, she's like, seriously, I'm done. I'm like,
you're like, it's over. It's done with.
It is done. You're right.
Dude. I feel like for me, not my mom, that like she always thought that she was like embarrassing growing up. Like
she embarrassed
me.
You.
It was like, yes, you were, but it's because I'm a teenager, not because
everything
like,
was embarrassing.
Everything was embarrassing. And I think she understands that now, but I also feel like those certain situations, like I'm like, my dad was just as embarrassing, girl. Like
girl.
He just wasn't doing the most, you know? Like he just wasn't there a lot for it. So I don't know, stuff like that. I'm like, yes, you're blamed for, I guess, and I apologize. I probably shouldn't have, but like, because you were there, like that's why
you were present. You're present. Thank you for being a present mother, who I blame for some trauma.
Who else am I supposed to get the trauma from, girl?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Being a mom sounds really hard.
It sounds fucking hard. Being a parent, period.
It's like accepting that like you're just on a life path with someone else. Like you're just bringing in someone to the life that you're gonna be with hopefully forever. I mean, as long as you possibly can, which is also crazy.
Yeah. I feel like there's like so many existential crises that are gonna come like in being parents. Like I feel like it's just gonna be like a,
and then like having grandparents. I mean grandkids. Wow.
I feel like the grandparent
that role is way cooler.
It's just way cooler.
I'm like, can we skip to 27 when you have your first kid or something? Imagine. Dude. No, because then it's not as great. You're like, I didn't raise that fucker.
Yeah.
You know, if we skipped.
No, yeah. I think like that relationship is probably really cool because you're just like kind of detached, but you also see the work that you put in
to your kids.
There's
so much pride in family. Like now I get it. Like when my parents are always like, that's family. I'm like, yeah. Like, shut up. That's my sister. Like, when me and my sister were beefing for a long-ass time, like 10 years long time, my mom was probably really sad behind closed doors. Like, she was sad and, you know, out in the open, but
probably really
sad behind closed doors. No, totally. And, like, all my aunts, they would try and tell me, like, dude, I promise it's going to pass. And I was like, I literally can't imagine ever liking my sister. Dude. It's so savage. Which I love my sister now, but it's just crazy. Like, that... your chosen family and your family are like who you have. So it's just like, wow, no wonder there's so much pride in it. And especially when it is like blood or whatever. Stupid. I hate that concept. But like, it's just like so much work goes into raising humans. It's like, no wonder you take so much like to heart.
Well, yeah, it's very fucking personal.
Like, so don't take it personal, babe. This is personal.
It's really fucking personal.
This is personal.
I think all of that just really makes me realize how much like is put into who I am, and like even the bad parts. I'm like, it was an expression of some frustration, some sadness, some anxiety, some like anger, like all of it. Yeah, it's just all of my like trauma is like literally just the reaction of somebody trying to do their best, and that's like sad, but like also I'm honestly grateful for it. Although trauma is like nobody deserves to like feel traumatized, but like I think it really builds up to who you are as a person and like what you are trying to accomplish or like move through in this life, and like what you have to offer is like moving through the hardest parts. And I feel like a lot of the time that's what comes from your family dynamic and how you're raised by a parent. So,
and at the end of the day, I feel like each generation just wants the next one to be better. Whether it's like, oh my God, we're a perfect family. No, it's never going to be reality. But like the things I struggled with, I hope I gave you more tools to deal with them. Totally. Or I gave you a better life in terms of the resources you had to be better. Our generation's pretty lucky in that way. Like I feel like we do have a lot of resources available. Yeah. In general. Free online alone. Yeah. And communities and stuff, which like our mothers have nothing to do with. But they still brought us into this world. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy knowing the things that they've overcome and like the things they didn't allow us to go through because they didn't want that for us. Yeah. Whether it backfired on them and it turned into something else, or, you know, whatever. It turned out to be positive and great. Yeah. God, this just makes me like not want to be a mom. But also I'm like, but I do want to skip to when all the good things. But I don't, because like then they're not as good, you know? Like the bad makes the good better.
It's all a ebbs and flows type vibe, you know? God. I don't know, man.
I can't imagine having a child. Every day being with that kid. Every single day.
Like it's literally
right there. It's like go somewhere else for a second. Anyways. Yeah, there's a lot of life lessons we learned from our mothers.
Also, crazy to think that some of our friends are mothers now. And that's just crazy. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Happy Mother's Day to our lovely, lovely friends. You did that thing. You did it first, dude. And you're gonna be like, I fucking told you so, you dumb bitches, when we have kids.
Excited to hear from you when I'm ready. That's fucking nuts. But anyway, grateful for all the moms out there or mother figures, or all the dads that played mom figures. Like,
That's hard.
that shit's hard, dude.
I can't even conceptualize being a father figure as a woman. I'd be like, what do I teach this?
What do I teach you?
What?
I'm gonna have to maybe deal with that. So,
Girl. No, you're just gonna have grandpa. Both.
they'll have uncles and stuff.
Yeah, you have
There'll
paternal
be some
figures.
paternal figures.
I'm like,
Anyway, I also like, not to get there, but like there's a feminine and masculine energy to everybody. So
that's
there's
true, but the actual like
what, the actual penis? Anyway, girl, happy Mother's Day.
Okay.
Love you, Mom.
I love you too, Mom. That's it.
That's it.
Bye.